runs out to Tom James. Good chance! Oh, what a goal! What a goal from Tom James! Oh, that was special!
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Orient Live. It's a massive fixture here today in E10 and it's the clash of last season's League 2 Titans. But we all know who was the biggest Titan out of the two of us. It's Orient versus Stevenage and it's an exciting one. Last Saturday was one of the best performances we've seen in a long time. But today it's going to be tough opposition against old friends.
Old friends, football friends. No, yeah, I mean, everyone's buzzing after last week's performance. You know, the confidence is lifted. You know, some great performances last week. So hopefully, you know, we'll pick up from that with the new league we have now. It should be a good game today.
We saw the way we played last week, got it down, controlled the game, possession-based, played it around Cambridge like it was just a stroll in the park. Stevenage, they're big. They're brutish. They're going to be a different test.
Yeah, I think it will be a completely different, beast out there. Really, Stevenage. I expect them to be a lot tougher than Cambridge were last week. Although there was just so many positives from last weekend's performance to take in today. Not only the result, but the way we played, the way we moved the ball around, the clean sheet. I thought going forward was probably the most potent that we've looked this season as well. So. I think the boys will be in really good, confident mood today.
Well, we're excited here in the studio and we've got a hell of a lot to get through this afternoon before kick-off. So without further ado, let's hear from the main man, Richie Williams.
Kent, how much are we looking forward to being back at home and taking on Stevenage on Saturday?
Well, I think the win was because of the performance, so it was a good win. We needed it just for for everybody's confidence. But the performance levels have been coming, they've been growing. And I think to a man, every single player contributed fast, energetic, attacking football with so much pace. The ball speed that we played with was exceptional. So now it's just about continuing it, not getting complacent and continuing to get better, wanting to improve, and keep building. We've had a tough start with some of the fixtures and what's been thrown at us, but. We're getting a good squad now. You looked at the bench, and on Saturday there's a couple of thousand games on the bench. So, we've gone through that little stormy period, and we've probably never looked as bright since I've been here in terms of the team that we're putting out.
Looking forward now to tomorrow and Stevenage, team we know well, having played them last year. What can we expect from them?
No, I think they're brilliant at what they do. They are brilliant at what they do, and it's not everybody's type of football, but you have to take your hat off and say that what they do, they're very, very, very consistent at it, and they're very, very good at it. They've had a great start to the season. They pushed us all the way last year. They was the only team that I felt could potentially take the title away from us. They've got a good manager who knows exactly the way that he wants to play, recruited experienced players with a lot of League One games in the summer, and he started the season off really, really well. So I watched the game against Portsmouth. It was kind of not a non-event after they both went down to 10 men, but the first 20 minutes they're up, the balls are put down your throat, and you have to deal with it. If you don't deal with it, then the game will be played on their terms, and they're very, very good at it.
Well, as Richie says, it is going to be a tough test this afternoon, but the O's have remained unchanged from last Saturday's victory over Cambridge, so hopefully that will bring some continuity. But let's remind ourselves of how the O's are lining up this afternoon. And of course, there's one change to the bench coming. So there's one change to the bench with Max Sanders coming in the place of Zek Obiero. And then the team itself is there, and it's in goal number 1, Sol Bryn. Number 2, Tom James. Number 5, Dan Happy. Number 4, Ed Turns. And number 22, Ethan Galbraith. So that is the back four there. And wearing the armband again is number 15, Idris El Mazouni. And alongside him in midfield is number 8, Jordan Brown. A contender for man of the match last week is 24, Jordan Graham. Number 10, Ruel Sotirio. And another contender for man of the match is number 11, Theo Archfield. They were so key out wide last week. And leading the line again after scoring on his first start for the O's is number 17, Shaq forward. So, as we said, it's completely unchanged. But there is the bench as well with just the one change. We'll run through that. We've got Sam Howes in goal alongside Joe Pigott, George Moncur, Darren Prattley, Omar Beckles, that one change in Max Sanders and Rob Hunt. It's no real surprises then that we've decided to keep things as it were. We were that good last week.
Yeah, of course, absolutely no need to change anything. I think the message today from Richie will just be more of the same, boys. Can we maintain that performance level that we showed last week? I feel like probably after the game, Richie would have likely been saying, look, boys, our season starts now, first win on the board. We've really kind of set our standards with that level of performance. It was kind of reminded me of certain games last season, when we were just so dominant at home. So, yeah, I'm sure, he'll be hoping for more of the same today.
If you cast your mind back to last season, Stevenage made it really tough for us here. It wasn't Boxing Day, the day after Boxing Day, and that away game in January as well. We didn't manage to, we only took 1 point off of them. We never managed to beat them, and they did make it hard for us. They interrupted the way we play. So how key is it that we cope with that today?
Yeah, I mean, we have to really cope with that because that's what they do. That's the sort of part of their game plan as well, to upset and destruct the way we want to play and get us playing into their hands. So we just have to concentrate on the way we've played, take last week's performance into account, and at the same time, be threatening, stretch them with Shaq forward up front with that pace and stretching the game. It will just create more pockets of space for Soturio and Archibald to do their work.
And we've got to talk about Orient in an attacking perspective, because last Saturday we could have had, I think we could have won the game 5-0. We hit the crossbar, we hit the post. If we look at how fluid we were, and we'll see here from some of our attacking play last week, we were so fluid, and against a big defence today, hopefully if we can get it down and kind of pull them apart a bit, it might be good.
Yeah, I think that'll be the key, really trying to pull them apart, disrupt them, because they are a team that they're happy to come and sit in their shape and defend and not have the ball for periods. They're well drilled and organised, and that back five, the wing backs are happy to drop in and just be difficult to beat at times. So I think Richie mentioned it there in his interview. I think the ball speed, moving the ball quick, getting it out wide, switching play, and really getting their two banks, the defence and the midfield, like shifting from side to side, and trying to carve out openings to try and just to create opportunities, because they will be happy to defend and make it tough for Orient at times today. So that will be key.
And we're seeing that attacking play from last week. Jabo, Jordan Graham getting his first assist, Shaq Ford getting his first goal. They were so lively all throughout though.
Yeah, they were, and when you got that sort of pace and danger and people that want to sort of make the defenders face their own goal, that's what we've kind of been missing in the early parts of the season. And his hold up play here is really good. He doesn't just stop and admire; he moves again. Constantly on the move, and it's a defender's nightmare. And then Graham, we know what player he is and the skill set he has, and it was nice to see him out there getting a run. So again, I'm excited for today. And with the balls going into the box like that, it's just meat and chips, and you want to be at the end, be the striker in there, getting at the end of those.
We saw some clips just a second ago of Shaq Ford, Joe, and he offers something very different to your likes of Joe Pigott or even Aaron Drynan when he's back fit. But he's small, he's quick. But you saw there a good finish, but it was the link-up play as well. It was the way he was dropping deep and making things tick.
Yeah, definitely. He's got a good stature, a good, not the tallest, but he's got a good physical presence. Happy to take contact from defenders. His link-up play is tidy. Showed a couple of nice touches there. As Jabo said, won't just get hold of the ball, let it go and admire his pass. He wants to get on it again. He wants to get himself in the box and in areas to try and score goals, like we saw there with his goal last weekend.
And we saw the goal from Theo Archibald as well. It was good to see him get off the mark, because he is such a crucial player. And now you kind of look at the team, and last season you had Paul Smith that you'd expect to hit magic from, but he's the one there that we know. I remember the goal he scored against Stevenage a couple seasons ago, left foot, top bins. He's the player in that team that can pull out a moment of magic. Yeah,
and you want those sort of players to be firing, get their confidence, and get our season going. And when if everyone else does their job, players like him are the match winners that can produce that je ne sais quoi, that's something special. And it's good to see him get his goal, get his confidence up, and hopefully he continues that from last week.
And Continental with the French, looking just behind the attack, then obviously with the midfield, Idris and Jordan Brown, they played in those two central roles last week, and they were so key into their energy, winning the ball, moving the ball quickly. But we said last week, they're young and, haven't got tons of League One experience, really, either of them. So it could be a tough battle if things maybe get a bit scrappy out there. There's a big performance needed from them today.
Yeah, definitely will be a big performance needed. But I think we've seen from Idris now for over a season that he's, for me, he's probably one of the better midfielders even at this level. Having just stepped up from League Two last season, he's got everything. I think Jordan Brown came in and did a really good job last weekend. He's become a bit of a utility man and does seem to do a good job everywhere. But I felt like he really wanted to show that central midfield is where he wants to play this season with his performance last week. Came in really comfortable on the ball, passed forward. Broke lines of his passing, showed a lot of energy, broke up play well, and I think there was was a really nice kind of combination. I feel like Jordan Brown did a similar role to what Darren Pratley does in terms of that breaking up play, but kind of with a bit more energy and a little bit more on the front foot. So pleased for him, and looking forward to seeing those two as a pair in there today again.
And Idris wearing the armband today, you think back to January in that fixture against Stevenage, he got sent off early doors, 2 yellows I believe it was. Yeah. He's hopefully going to have that out of his mind, and we questioned whether having the armband at such a young age, being a lone player, might add a bit of unneeded tenacity to his game, but it didn't. He remained so level-headed, and he'll be hoping for a level-headed performance today. Yeah,
it's going to need to be, because it's, like I said, a different kettle of fish when you come against Stevenage and the way they try and get into you as a player and sort of the dark arts they're going to possess. So it's a good test for his temperament, but being the captain, hopefully that settles the mind, because sometimes it can make you more enthusiastic and overzealous at times, but the same way it can make you calm and more of a thinker on the pitch. And after last week's performance, I think it's more of the latter there.
And obviously those two centre mids are performing well, and they're keeping Ethan Galbraith not out the team, but at right back. And he was a lot of people were saying he was a candidate for man of the match last Saturday. He just looks a very classy, very silky, tidy player, doesn't he?
He does, yeah, he does. And he was, he took to playing fullback like a duck to water last week. Obviously he's not familiar with the position, but I think probably the fact that Orient was so dominant with the ball, had so much possession, it was a nice game for him to play as a right back. I think today will be a different test. I feel like Stevenage could potentially try and target him, knowing that he's not a natural right back. Stevenage, they like to go long, they like to play down the side, so I'm sure they'll be trying to turn the ball around and maybe get him back facing his own goal, and perhaps aerially, maybe see how willing he is to want to go and compete with headers and stuff. So I'm sure he'll have to be on it defensively today, as will Tom James on the opposite side.
Well, that's the thing. It's been 2 clean sheets in a row, but Cambridge and Blackpool maybe weren't as direct. We spoke a lot early doors in the season about dealing with balls into the box, set pieces, being strong, getting it out of the area. We're going to have to be on our game in that department today.
Yeah, we just can't switch off, because what they do really well is, they're very direct, but what they do is ring the areas. Everyone comes up very well and congest that area, and it's like the second ball that they're really sharp to. So we have to not only deal with the first phase, but the second phase, we have to make sure we stay with our man, stay with our runners, and don't switch off at that point, because that's when Stevenage are a bit deadly, and then have runners in terms of Jamie Reid, a good ball carrier who likes to pick up the ball, drive and get shots from outside the box. So we definitely can't switch off in the second phases.
Right then, there is just over 15 minutes until kick-off, and of course don't forget, if you're watching live on our YouTube stream, then UK fans, you can pick up an audio pass to listen along, and international fans, you can watch along with a streaming pass that you can pick up on the website that's on the screen now. And then we've got 2 games coming up thick and fast. We are embarking on our Football League Trophy adventure on Tuesday night when we travel to Gillingham, the League 2 outfit, who are looking to cause an upset in that competition. Streams are available for UK and international fans for that one to watch here on Orient Live, and then it's another back-to-league action on the Saturday when we travel to Exeter. And again, UK fans, you can pick up an audio pass, and international fans can stream that one right here with us and get every single minute of the action. But now, it's been an extremely busy summer transfer window for the O's, and we caught up with Director of Football Martin Ling to get his thoughts on what the summer held.
Ling, it's not quite 11 o'clock here at Brisbane Road, but our transfer business is done for the summer. How would you summarise the summer window?
Yeah, I mean, the summer window as an whole, I think has been a successful one. It's actually 11 signings, 10 before today, and I'm going to talk about the one that we brought in today as well. And I just think that, there was a big change around the end of last season. Lost some big players, but I feel like we've replaced them. I feel that we've got new heroes for the supporters to get behind, and I can see some cohesion within the team. Last Saturday was very pleasing. One way I judge where we're at is when I look at the bench. Tomorrow's bench will be as strong as it's going to get. The injuries are easing off, and I think it's been a successful window.
The team of the season was announced actually earlier this week. We had 4 players in there. 2 of those players aren't here anymore. So how big a challenge has it been trying to replace those?
Yeah, I mean, look, we all know in terms of Paul Smith and Lawrence Vigouroux were big players in our team last year. There's no doubt about that they were quality and they were better than League One. But once we started to offer contracts to players, it was always a fear that they were probably the 2 that would be attracted by higher clubs. If you're successful, clubs will take note of your players, your management, and when you're a club of Leighton Orient size, sometimes you have to accept that players move on to bigger and better things, because if Vigouroux, for instance, went to the Premier League, even though he's not in the Burnley squad at the moment, but you can imagine the type of money that he's earning, and Paul Smith went back to QPR. Yeah, I do think we've replaced them. We've had a little bit of injury trouble, with Dan Aguirre being out until January. Aaron Drinham we've not had in the team yet. Max Sanders hasn't got going. But it's just starting to ease, and I do believe that there's a squad there. We've got, with the new signing today, we've got 29 professional players. The budget that Nigel, Kent and the board have given us to spend has been a very competitive budget. We feel like we've spent it in the best way. When you looked at it, I always said about this league, I sort of do it into 3 groups of 8, and I think we're in the middle 8 in terms of budgets. And I do believe we'll be at least a middle 8 team. We'd like to be a top 8 team, and you need to have a little bit of luck with injuries, suspensions and the like. But the squad is, if going from that disappointment of losing good players, we do feel that we have replaced them with people that can now take us on to, be competitive at this level first, and then take us on to be, more than just a mid-table team. Everyone looked at the first 4 results and probably panicked. I looked at the first 4 games, and they're probably going to be the most difficult 4 back-to-back games you're going to get this season, and you have to put that into perspective as well.
Brilliant stuff there from a true legend of the game, really, Martin Ling, and he's had a busy summer, 11 signings. Brandon Cooper being the latest one, but it's just been quite a good window on the whole.
Yeah, it started slowly, didn't it? But I think in the end, as Lingy said there, the club can be happy with the business they've done. They wanted to add quality. They didn't want to just get anyone through the door. I think there was certain criteria that they wanted from the new additions, and I feel like the squad's improved. And they've and we're looking strong. Going into the season, I think Richie spoke about the depth of the squad. Looking at the bench last weekend and the amount of League One experience and games there. So I think Richie's happy, Lingy's happy, and it's a job well done.
And as we can see from the interview, the media team were here until late last night, getting that final deal over the line. Brandon Cooper on loan from Swansea City, a centre back. Lingy said in the full interview, I think that Adam Thompson's injury is worse than first expected. We seem quite healthily stacked for bodies in that position now. A lot of competition with Ed Turns, Dan Happy, Omar Beckles, and now Brandon Cooper in there. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's interesting, but healthy competition is good. It drives everyone not to be complacent, and increases the consistency within players. And it's nice to be very full in that area, and you want to kind of have that in all the positions, and then gives the manager a good headache to pick his best team. So I'm all for it, and if it's going to help the boys and help the relationships within the back four, then it's all good.
Well, that is it for that summer business, but now it's time to turn our attention back to this afternoon's game and the opposition team in the form of Stevenage FC, managed by none other than Steve Evans. And let's look at how they are lining up here in E10 this afternoon. And in goal for Stevenage is number 1, Tay Ashby-Hammond. We have number 2 at right back, Luther Walden. Number 3, Dan Butler. Number 4, Nathan Thompson. The captain, Carl Piergiani, wearing the number 5 shirt. And number 6, Dan Sweeney. Ex-Orient loanee, number 10, Nick Freeman. Number 11, Jordan Roberts. Number 17, Finley Burns. Number 19, Jamie Reid. 26, Charlie McNeil. And that is the starting 11. And on the bench is Heggie, McDonald, List, Anderson, Neil and Hannon. So a few familiar faces in there. Carl Piagiani obviously wearing the armband. I think every fan of any club in the Football League knows about him. He seems to score every week. He's a real danger from centre-back. Attacking, defending, he's got it all.
Yeah, you know, everyone in League Two knows him pretty well, and he's done a good job. So it's interesting to see how he fares in this season. But you know, he's someone you want to keep away from set plays, especially, you know, we don't want to give away silly fouls and limit sort of the corners we concede. But you know, someone we have to watch carefully, definitely from corners. Ed
Turns isn't the tallest centre back. Dan Happy, you wouldn't have him down as that kind of battler as such, but it's going to be a really interesting battle at set pieces. Do you imagine it will be one of them two trying to, and Dan Sweeney is obviously a big centre back as well, it will be Ed Turns and Dan Happy having to try and keep them quiet?
Yeah, I think to be honest, both Orient centre backs are going to have to be that big battling type today, because you know, Stevenage like putting the ball in the box. Set pieces are really big for them. So not only our centre backs, but you know, the whole team is going to have to defend the box really well. You know, and be aware of that, because it's a big threat for Stevenage. Like you said, you know, the likes of Piagiani and Dan Sweeney, huge guys. So we're going to have to be aware of that and really compete aerially to try and stop that danger today. And
well, of course, they've had a fairly decent start to the season. When we were struggling to pick up points, I think they won their first three, but they're without a win in the last 3 games in all competitions. We've obviously picked up a bit of form, but are you expecting a tough test from them today?
I think regardless of, you know, if they haven't won in the last couple of games, I think, you know, there's just that bit between both teams, especially going on from last season. So I think it's going to be a tough game regardless of the present form. But off the back of last week, our confidence is up. You know, we're going to be looking at it's our time. Our season starts now. So I think we're in a good position to be playing them right now, and all the positives are our way. But as long as we don't sort of like start playing Stevenage's game, I think we'll be definitely involved today.
This seems like a really obvious question, but what do you expect from a Steve Evans side on a day like today?
What do I expect? I think they'll want to try and frustrate Orient first and foremost. You know, they'll try and slow the game down. They'll try and make it disjointed. They'll try and annoy Orient. They'll know that they'll have seen the way we played last weekend. They'll want to know that we're going to fly out the traps and you know, try and move the ball quickly, and they'll try and do the opposite. I think they'll be happy to sit in and defend at times and play for set pieces and just stay in the game. To be honest, I don't think, you know, I can't see them trying to come out and really be on the front foot and, you know, trying to win the game early on. So I can see it being a really close game, to be honest. You know, I did my own little scout report on Stevenage a few weeks ago against Cambridge, and they played a similar sort of way. You know, away from home, they're tough to beat. You know, they ask questions of you, they make you defend, and that they really look to make the most of set pieces themselves.
It's interesting though, because as Joe says, they'll probably try and frustrate us, slow the game down, take their time. But that's harder this season than it was last season with the new rules. Do you expect there to be a lot of? You mentioned dark arts earlier, but if it's harder for them, do you expect a lot of yellow cards, a lot of scrappiness today?
I think when they can use the dark arts, they will. You know, and even Steve Evans might even give us a sideline performance. But I think you know, they will be pummeling at the ball. They'll be getting it into those areas, and then, you know, if they can get a free kick by someone going down a bit lightly, they'll be doing all those things. So to frustrate us. So we just have to make sure we keep our head and our focus and worry about playing our game, our slick football, and stretching them is key.
Just to add on that, Ollie, though, the one thing I did notice about them when I watched them a few weeks ago, they are a real high energy team. You know, they've got a lot of quick, energetic players, you know, especially in the front line. Offer some real threats in behind. So, you know, they won't be, you know, look, I said I think they'll come and try and frustrate us, but they won't just be, you know, trying to stop us from winning the game. You know, they'll see opportunities to want to really try and test our back line and try and score themselves. So I think they will offer like some you know, some real threat today.
And well, of course, they've got a big away back in as well. We can hear them from the studio. They'll be well behind them. And as Joe says, they're high energy. They get the ball into the box. Let's take a look here now at some of their recent kind of highlights and what they're about, because they get the ball in, as Joe said, they're lively and they're hard to handle sometimes.
Yeah, they're very good at what they do, and I think even this season they've recruited really well, and they're very efficient at what they do. You know, they get it forward. They just don't pull it aimlessly. They pull it into the right areas where they know they'll get the second phase ball, and then have people that come onto it that will then drive with the ball and get the shots, which we're going to see in another clip. You know, they ring the box well. They have a lot of bodies. You know, and they definitely look how many players are they've scored, but look how many players are in and around it. And again, when they have a bit of space, they're positive. They get their shots away because they've recruited some good players this season.
And Nick Freeman, a man in their midfield today. Joe, you played with him when he was on loan here. He played in a weird COVID time and no fans, or maybe not many fans will remember him, but he's a good player with a good pedigree.
Yeah, he is a good player. You know, great lad. You know, fits the Steve Evans mould of type of player that he wants in his team. You know, very fit, very energetic. You know, sort of box-to-box midfield player. I think he's playing in that midfield role today. You know, will get on the end of second balls, will want to break into the box and get onto things, but at the same time, you know, will track runners all the way. You know, really hard worker with a good engine.
Well, they may have won the battles last season, but we won the war and we took the League Two trophy and we were champions. And of course, that leads me on nicely to the latest item to enter the Leyton Orient Superstore, the Champions Book co-written by Dave Victor and Neil Silver. It's on sale for just $24.99, full of Simon O'Connor's pictures, memoirs from the last 10 years of being an Orient fan. It's an absolute must-have memento, so get yourself down to the club shop and get yourself one of them. But we can see the players are getting ready in the tunnel, ready to come out. So let's remind ourselves of how the O's line up one more time. There's Dan Happy looking dashing as ever, and he is coming out with the boys with Sol Bryn in goal. We're in the number 1 shirt. We have number 2, Tom James. Number 5, Dan Happy. Number 4, Ed Turns. Number 22, Ethan Galbraith. The captain, 15, Idris El Mazouni. Number 8, Jordan Brown. Number 24, Jordan Graham. Number 10, Ruel Sotiriou. 11, Theo Archibald, and leading the line, number 17, Shaq Ford. And on the bench is Sam Howes, Joe Piggott, George Moncur, Darren Prattley, Omar Beckles, Max Sanders, and Rob Hunt. So Brisbane Road is filling up nicely. We're slicking that pitch for some lovely Wellens ball, and it is now time to hand over to our commentary team of Dave Victor and Matt Hiscott.
Good afternoon and welcome to Brisbane Road, where the sun is shining and hopes are high of back-to-back wins for the O's after that magnificent performance against Cambridge United. And it's no wonder, Matt Hiscock, that Richie Wellens has kept to a winning formula.
Yeah, completely different game this afternoon, I anticipate, Dave. Orient were good last week, Cambridge were poor. Stevenage will come here, they've been in decent form. They exited the cup in the week, of course, after a defeat on penalties, but you know what you're going to get when you come up against Steve Evans' side. It'll be physical, it'll be a battle. The games that we played last season, of course, the one at Stevenage, it was a horrific opening 10-15 minutes for the O's. It was a stalemate here in the game.